All right, good morning, everybody. I see something that's ready. I'm excited. All right, so just a disclaimer: I have not had my coffee yet, so my way of code switching is a little off this morning. So please forgive me if I don't use correct colloquial pedagogical terms. Okay, great. All right, so my name is Kelsey Spears. I'm a student at one of the best schools in the world, Teachers College in Columbia University. Period. Okay, great. All right, so we're talking about today from Silence to Song, which is a pedagogical framework for vocal instruction in nonverbal and minimally verbal learners. So I know that little part under there, you all didn't see that on the when you came for the description. Blame my mentor. She wanted me to change it. All right, so before we get started, my clicker doesn't want to work this morning, so I have to move back and forth. But before we get started, I want to show you guys somebody very special to me. So this little guy here, this monkey was so much younger. This is my son. So he's really cool. His name is Miles. And I know, right? He's so cute. So my son is the absolute love of my life. He has this cool ability to make anybody that knows and loves him really be able to want to just be around him. He's such an amazing little kid. But around 18 months, I noticed that his speech started to stop. And it started to regress, where he was picking up things so fast. For some reason, it went from all of these words to fewer words, to less words, to even less words, and then down to primitive boos and ahs, and even jargon was a hard thing. And I really didn't understand what happened, because it wasn't that we weren't talking to him. It wasn't that we weren't trying to communicate with him. It wasn't that, he wasn't around people who wanted to get to know him. He just stopped out of nowhere. And we just didn't understand. But there was one thing that really stood out to us that really helped him, and that was music. Music was something that had this chokehold on him. It wasn't something that, even though I'm a musician, it wasn't something that I personally was like, you're going to be a musician, you're going to do this. I literally would sit him down at the instruments and he would play. And then with me being a singer, he would hear me sing. And I would notice that he would start to try to sing along. I couldn't get him to do full sentences. I couldn't get him to say, how are you? I'm fine. I couldn't get him to do any of that, but he could sing songs. I would literally see him in the living room and he would be singing songs. And I thought that was like the most amazing thing, because even though I couldn't get him to speak naturally to me, music was something that really stood out to him. So for that is where From Silence to Song was birthed, because of my own son. I'm going to quickly try to fix this thing so that we can get moving. If not, it's okay. All right, great. Then we're back. I feel better now. All right, so our framework overview for today, we're going to go over the neuroscience foundation. It's a little brainy in the beginning, but it's all right. So that's where I shared neural systems between music and language. Then we're going to go over the progressive model for From Silence to Song, followed by the applied practice and case analysis, where we're going to have some fun. It's not going to be just me talking to you guys, it's okay. And then our moment where we're going to have a brief discussion and talk. We can get a chance to get to know each other, because I like that. And we're going to move forward. So here's the challenge. The challenge is that 25 to 30% of individuals with autism will remain minimally verbal or nonverbal. Yes, they can have all the speech, they can have the best speech therapists in the world, they can have all the music therapy, they can have all of the other interventions, and they will still remain nonverbal. So for a parent, as myself, that has a child that has autism, that is minimally to nonverbal, even that 25 to 30%, to me, it hurts. Because that means that there are 25 to 30% of parents who will never hear their child say, I love you. There are 25 to 30% of parents who will never be able to have dialogue with their parents, with standard care. And so that is why I am working so hard to create From Silence to Song. because the gap calls for an additional pathway to communication. We cannot allow things to just be as they are. 25 to 30% is still too much. It's still too much. So the gap in our current frameworks. I love this slide because I was recently trying to submit a publication, and I purposely left out a framework because I didn't want to feel compared to it. But then I was told, well, what about we'll say it was Sounds of Intent. Now, granted, I love Sounds of Intent. Adam Okafor is probably one of my absolute heroes. I hope to one day go to London and have coffee with him, and then I can speak more pedagogical, So I was listing frameworks. We have speech and language therapy. It focuses on speech mechanics and articulation, which is great. We love that. Then we have music therapy, which is a broad therapeutic and regulatory goals. Now we have our Sounds of Intent, which is basically about music development within the SLD, which is severe language disabilities, the severe learning disabilities populations. And then we have our AACs. I'm pretty sure most of you have seen an AAC device where, they can press what they want, and that's all great. But there are gaps. So our gaps, we have a limited framework, conceptualized vocal instruction as structured communication pathway. And our current frameworks do not focus on things outside of the SLD, the PMLD space. There are very few that focus specifically on autism spectrum disorder, child apraxia of speech. There are very few that focus on selective mutism, because for what people don't understand, selective mutism is a real thing, whether people understand that or not. There's a lack of integrated theoretical grounding, which is, things for me like the zone of proximal development, the neuroscience, and embodied cognition. And there's limited pedagogical specialty targeting expressive verbal outcomes. Now, why music works? The brain science, the things that, gets a little nerdy at this point. You have our shared neural infrastructure. Music and language processing recruits overlapping neural networks. Most people don't know that. Most people think that language and music and the brain, they occupy different spaces, but they actually share 3 very important brain spaces. The superior temporal gyrus, right? So it's the auditory pattern processing in both speech and music, the Broca's area, and then the Wernicke's area, found in Patel's 2011 study. Now, this part right here, I actually don't even want to read this part to you guys, so I'm going to call for my friends in the audience to read, because I love us being able to collaborate like that. So the opera hypothesis, which is a very big model in from Silence to Song, is the conditions under which musical training enhances speech processing. You have the O, P, E, R, and A. I'm going to ask you guys to volunteer to read one of each, or I'm going to have to volunteer somebody. So who wants to read the O? Can you give me your name?
Joseph.
Hi, Joseph. You read the O for me?
Shared natural networks between music. Yeah, you're right. I should stand.
It's a little small.
It's a little small, sorry.
Not natural. Shared neutral networks between music and language processing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Yes, it is a little small, but you guys can always step up. The P. Who wants to read the P? Yes, what's your name?
Elise.
Khalees?
Elise.
Elise. I love that name. Can you read the P for me?
Precision. Musical tasks demand greater acoustic and motor precision than everyday speech.
Just so you know, Elise, I would love to hear your voice in the morning as I'm headed to work. It's absolutely amazing. Who wants to read the E for me? All the way in the back?
Emotion. Emotional engagement enhances neural plasticity.
Yes, thank you. And then the R. Yes, what is your name?
Lorraine,
Yes.
repetition. Structured repetition strengthens auditory and motor pathways.
And then my last one, the A. Who can read the A for me? I don't want to monitor. Yes, please.
Attention. Sustained focus and engagement supports transfer to speech systems.
Yes. Now, Thank you all so much, by the way, for reading that for me. That is the opera hypothesis in a nutshell. So structured vocal instruction actually engages every bit of the opera hypothesis, which I love. But the penultimate part of From Silence to Song is based off of Vygotsky's zone of proximal development, which in this way we'll use it for scaffolding vocal development towards communication. Now, as you see here, I'm going to walk over here for a moment, even though this board is bigger than me. So we have the independent skill level, right? Our independent skill level is what our learners can do even without our help. So for example, Miles, this really cool little kid, he was able to play music, even on the piano, on his own, without me helping him. I realized as of late that he even has perfect pitch. So as of late, he'll hear songs and I'll say, Miles, what key is this song in? And he'll go home because he knows he's been on the piano since he was literally a child, and he'll go and press the right key the first time. Then I'll sing to him, and I never taught him how to sing. And he'll sing in key and do all these amazing things. But with the zone of proximal development, with support, he can do so much more. It's now about what students cannot do. It's never been about that. So that's the thing that really helps me to want to do From Silence to Song, because even with the learners who are nonverbal and mentally verbal, it's not that they can't speak. It's just that they need their song to be found. They need somebody who's going to care enough to find different ways to help them find their song. That is it. It's not that they can't communicate, because Miles' favorite way to communicate that he loves me is he'll come to me like this, and then he'll be like, and then he'll be like, and I'm like, he's like, and then that's for him. That's him telling me he loves me, you know. But then the other day, my mother, she was like, Miles, I love you, and he's like, and I was like, oh, but my mom. Okay, all right, that's your favorite one. Heard you. Okay, great. So, From Silence to Song, using Vygotsky's zone proximal development, it goes through 4 different areas. It's the physical scaffolding, which is the breath and body regulation, established readiness for intentional sound. Then we have the auditory melodic scaffolding, followed by the reciprocal social scaffolding, because what you all probably know already, some of our learners that have either they're nonverbal or mentally verbal, sometimes they're a little shy. Miles was very, very shy. So he did kindergarten, now he has a girlfriend now. I don't understand because you can barely speak. I don't understand what's happening. How your girlfriend is beyond me. But, you know, they need help with socializing. And so a part of From Silence to Song, there's a big social aspect. So even when these things are done, they're done in group settings so that the students are able to really grasp what it means to participate in regular society, because there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with a child that is nonverbal or mentally verbal. There's nothing wrong with a child that has autism spectrum disorder. There's nothing wrong with a child that has childhood hypoxia of speech or selective mutism. They are perfectly fine in the way that they're supposed to be. And it is our job as educators, even as parents and current professionals, to be able to pull out what we know that they can be. So that's where the zone of proximal development comes from. That support to help them shine and find their song. So our theoretical foundation number 2 is the body as a participant in music making. So I like to tell my students that I am very unorthodox. I don't know who raised me. It was probably my mom. And I'm very unorthodox. So I'm going to throw some of these in the audience. Please catch them. Are you guys ready? This is me in school every day, so please forgive me. You ready? You ready? I love you. Play softball, baseball?
I don't actually.
That's just amazing. I'm going really long. Please catch. This is me in school. Sorry. This is why I don't play football. Ah, I'll grab it. Love it.
Oh.
So just know if you come into my class, This is me in class. So when I get observed, I guess you're pretty sure you know what that looks like. So like, just stop. This is wild. I'm so sorry. This one's for you. All right. I know you probably play softball in past life. I love that. So the body as a participant in meaning making. The thing about it, I'll leave this here, y'all. I'm pretty sure y'all didn't expect any presenters to be so. Oh God, I didn't have my coffee yet. So that's what this is. All right. So the body as a participant in meaning making. The thing about it is a lot of our students, even a lot of us who are fully verbal, and you can play with that. It's okay. You can fidget. It's all right. I fidget too. A lot of us are not used to being able to be fully in our bodies. And so a lot of our learners, they're still trying to figure themselves out, to be honest. They're still trying to figure out why they are different, why their friends can do different things. And if we all know, even students on the autism spectrum disorder, a lot of them have to get OT. A lot of them have to get other services outside of speech because they need that extra help. So what we do a lot of, as I'm building this methodology out, is we start with getting them in their bodies. And we'll do a little bit of that in a little bit, which is why I passed those out already. All right, so the progressive model. Now we've all been waiting for it. The progressive model is 3 stages of embodied awareness to functional communication. The first step is breath awareness, because I don't know how many of you guys have been paying attention. I've barely been breathing, okay? So, the first part is breath awareness, because you can't sing without breathing properly. You cannot speak without breathing properly. It's just not possible. There's nowhere near it's possible. The next part is the intentional vocalization. Now, with the intentional vocalization, it helps you to know that everything is communication. And we'll get into that once we get to that slide. Followed by our stage 3, which is functional communication. It may seem like, well, how can this lead to the next part? But it's okay, because they all build off of each other. So this is the model in a nutshell. I'll leave it here for a little bit. It's 3 stages for breath of voice from silence to song. You have stage 1, which is breath awareness, which is the physiological readiness for intentional sound. Followed by stage 2, which is intentional vocalization, which is purposeful sound, emerging social intent. Followed by stage 3, which is functional communication, which is basically the generalization access across people, settings, and routines. I'll leave it here for like 10 seconds and then we'll move forward to the next one. I'll try to get nervous in the meantime. All right, we'll go forward. All right, so stage 1, building a physical gateway to voice. Now, some of you have these little sacks, right? So I like to start, I did this with my own son. This is how actually my son, I really should credit him to building this model for me, because he's the one who I actually learned this from. So when I first started working with Miles, what I would do is I noticed that he seemed to not only need help with doing the little things like the fine motor and the gross motor skills, but I realized that he just needed help to be himself. So what I would do with him, I would take things like these sacks and I would show him, I throw them in the air. You guys can throw them in the air, it's okay. I won't throw away. I would throw them in the air with him. I'd get him to feel them. I'd throw like catch. Like, so we do this and I'd be like, Miles. And then I'd throw it back and I'd be like, oh, Miles, mommy dropped it. And then he'll look and he's like, and I'm like, Miles, you want to get it? And he's like, and then he throws it back to me. And we would do that. We'd get into our bodies like that. Another thing we would do is we would play with bubbles. The bubbles would help him to catch his breath. Now, I'm not a science teacher, but I will tell you guys, if you ever did bubbles with your nonverbal learners, just make sure you're not going through it too fast, because I didn't know that the carbon dioxide and the oxygen, when you blow it out too fast, you get a little dizzy. So just take it easy. Don't be like me, who Miles's mommy was like about to pass out, so don't be like me. But the bubbles help them to be able to really focus on the breath because you're trying to breathe into this very small little hole, and you're trying to get the bubble to actually blow up because if you breathe too fast, you're not going to get a bubble. And so that's to the point where I'd be like, Miles, oh, bubble. And what Miles would do is he'd be like, and then eventually I was able to get him to blow his own bubbles where Mama didn't have to blow all the bubbles and almost pass out, okay? So I was able to do that with him. Another thing I would do with him are the movement scars. Now, with these movement scars, I'm pretty sure you guys have seen these in classes. I won't for these, they don't go really far. So what I would do with the movement scars is I would have him to blow into the movement scar so that he can visualize the breath. It was something that, you guys, y'all can get phone, it's okay, you don't have to slow down, don't make me nervous. So what I would do with him is I'd have him blow into the movement scar. Yes, you are amazing. No, thank you so much. You're the best. You see this one? I love it. You guys are so much nicer than New York. It's crazy. It's actually wild. You guys are, don't tell anybody in New York that you're from New York. I live in Brooklyn, so I'm not judging, okay? But what I would do with the bubbles, we'll go back here for a second, then we'll go to the movement scars. I'd be like, Miles, it's bubble time. Even his speech therapist now uses bubbles with her. So this was something I told her, I said, I've been working on him with this. Dear Lord, I can't get this open. Hold on. I will work on it with him. And excuse me, guys, I have this gavel hold on. Okay, great. Yes, ma'am.
Do you know more?
No, it's okay. Go be great. Thank you so much. Thank you. So going back to the bubbles, I would blow the bubbles. I'm like, Miles, it's bubble time. You see my blow too fast. I don't need a bubble. And so it helped Miles to know if I just take my time and I don't rush the breath, I can get on top of the breath. Let's see if I can do it. I've been moving around, so my breath's a little fast. Let's see if I can actually pull this off. If I take my time, I can blow the bubble. So for Miles, it helped Miles to realize if I'm rushing, I can't get the bubble. Now, Miles, I can't begin to tell you guys how bubbles go in our house. I actually sometimes have to hide the bubble solution because it gets a little crazy. And I'm like, Miles, Mommy's tired. Mommy actually has homework and she's going to graduate school, okay? So, like, she takes it all the time for bubbles. It's just actually not going to work. I love you, though. But we would go through things like that. And with the movement scars, like I said, what I would do with him is, this takes a little more effort, especially for a 5-year-old. I would have him to breathe, and I would say, and I would let him see the breath in a physical form, whether with the bubbles or with the movement scars. And for that, it really helps him to realize if I want this, I have to do this. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, well, how do you know this is what he was realizing? I want you all to know, I'm going to stamp this probably a few times. Even for learners who are nonverbal and minimally verbal, they understand everything. They understand everything. So don't think, oh, well, they can't respond back to me and I don't really know what they're trying to say. They understand everything. There are things that I'll tell my mom, I hid Miles with Oreos in the cabinet. All of a sudden, I'll see him going down to the cabinet to get the Oreos, and I'm like, I don't tell him that, I told my mom. Mary's getting the Oreos, so they understand everything. So even with him blowing the bubbles, using the movement scars, even though he may not always respond, he said bubbles sometimes, and now he says scarf, he understands it all. So when you're working with your learners, come from the place of them understanding everything. Because they understand everything, and they're a lot smarter than a lot of times they want us to know. Truth be told. Next step. So this is my favorite. This is where Miles and I currently are. which is discovering voice without judgment. So probably like a couple weeks ago, Miles and I had this really funny moment where he was in the kitchen and he was listening to Bubble Guppies. If you don't know Bubble Guppies, you're really missing out, okay? Bubble Guppies is great. It's my vibe at this point. So Miles likes Bubble Guppies a lot. And a lot of songs from Bubble Guppies help the kids do different things. Like there's one where it's like, look your hand up the ladder, right? And he'll be like, but there was one point where Miles, the show had went off, and Miles was like, and so I said, and he looked at me, he's just like, what is wrong with her? He looked at me like, hey, I don't know, she's crazy, if I'm crazy, like, what's happening? And so then he does this, and it almost made me cry, because Miles goes, and he says, and I was like, and then he says, hey, and I was like, hey, and then he looks, and now he really thinks his mother has lost her mind, right? And so then he says, B, and I'm like, B. He literally goes, C, and I'm like, C. He takes me through the entire alphabet. He takes me through the entire alphabet. By this point, Miles' mother has lost it. She's in tears. And he stops, and I'm like, now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with? And he's like, me. And I'm pretty sure if you're a parent, or even if you've seen, your students who it may have seemed like they weren't really retaining anything, that moment to me meant so much. The moment of not me trying to tell him the alphabet, but him actually taking me through the alphabet. And then I said, well, let's see how far this can go. So then I was like, what? And he looked and he's just like, okay, Mom, you're doing too much. And I was like, what? And he's like, and I remember he takes me up to the number 50. And by this point, I called my mom, I called my sister, and I'm like crying hysterically, and I'm just like, he knows, because he had teachers who they were so used to him not responding to him, well, to them rather, that they didn't know what he really knew. Even though every morning I'm like, Miles, you're going to kindergarten today, so show what you know and learn all you can. This is every morning. And for him to take me through the alphabet and then to take me through the numbers up to 50 in kindergarten meant so much to me. It meant so much. So it helped me to realize for the second stage From Silence to Song that every single audiation is communication, everything. The oohs, the ahs, his thing was for a long time. It was like, pika, 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 pika. I don't know what that means to this day. I'm not going to lie to you, right? But I would do it back. I'd say, pika, 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 pika. And we'd literally go back and forth. But it was his way of building confidence in himself. It was his way of knowing that he's not alone and that somebody actually cares to get to know him. Even as his mother, at one point I homeschooled him, so mommy was also his teacher. And he knew that, okay, I can speak to her, even with my mother, I can speak to other people, and maybe they won't understand me, but I'm trying to communicate. There were things that he would do where he'd be like, and I'm like, okay, he wants me to move whatever that is down there, or he wants me to do this. You have to treat every single way that they are using their voice as communication. Everything. Even the things that we're just like, what are they talking about? They're trying to communicate. And it is our job as educators to do our best to try to understand. So, followed by our last step, which is stage 3. Come on, do it one more time. Wow, that's crazy. All right, so our bridge to functional communication. One of the things that I do a lot with Miles is that when I hear him starting to make certain like vocalizations, I'll see how far I can push it. Like he'll be like, when he's eating. And for example, he loves pizza. This kid eats way too much pizza bread. It's crazy. He loves pizza, so he'll be like, and I'm like, more, more. And he'll look at me for a second, and I'm like, more. And then he'll say, and I'm like, more. And then he'll go, more. And I'm like, yes, yes. You know, so there, with that, what I love about stage 3, even though we're slowly but surely getting there, is the student-centered starting point. Because it's not about what I know by this point. Who cares what I know, right? It's about what the student can do and how I can help them to do more. It's a multimodal communication validation. So yes, I'm not saying throw away the AAC. I'm not saying throw away any of that stuff. My own son, like I said, Miles has an AAC device. So it's not about any of that. Miles also does sign language. He also uses gestures. And like I told you guys earlier with the whole I love you gaze, he does the eye gazes. All this communication. And it's my job, not only as Miles' mommy, but also as a teacher, to help him to turn those things into functional speech. So that's what we do in the functional communication part for the Silencer song. It's the melodic communication scaffolds and the progress documentation. As we all know as teachers, if you didn't document it, it didn't happen. That's the thing. So Miles' mommy has a whole list, and his teachers are probably sick of me because I have a whole list. I'm like, well, my son is at home, and try this at school. This may work. And they actually just did that last week. They tried something with him that I told him that he could do, that he wasn't doing at school. I said, well, try it this way. And they were literally like, oh my gosh, you see it? I don't know why we didn't try this before. I was like, because you weren't reading your emails, sis. Like, you were checking your emails, and that's why you didn't try it before. You know, so it's I love it. Now, from Silence the Song, the framework is fine. You know, it's just little on me with a little brain trying to, you know, figure out all these articles I have to read and all this stuff I'm doing. So it's an active research initiative. And you are here at the beginning. Welcome. We have snacks here, okay? So what's coming next is our first formal pilot study in development. The goal is to launch that by September, where it's going to be a single-arm trial, because I feel like with new interventions, there shouldn't be children left out. If there is something that I can use to help children, why wouldn't the first study be a single-arm trial? Why wouldn't I give that to all children? I mean, truth be told, the control group of their life is what they've done already. Like what they've done, the speech, the OT, the different things. They've already done that. And we already see where that is kept them. So for the first pilot study, it is going to be a single arm trial. And you'll learn a little bit more about that in a later slide. So the protocols are still being formalized. Like I said, it's just me bouncing ideas off my mentor and different things with different colleagues of mine. And these protocols are still being formalized. So as that goes, then I'll be ready to do the first pilot study. And the findings will be shared. You know, what I find out, especially on my social media, if you want that, you know, let me know. I'm like, I got you. The findings will be shared. They'll be shared, they'll be published. The revolution will be televised. 100% it will be televised. All right, so this is the fun part. This is where I stop talking as much because I'm actually tired of talking. You get a chance to meet Jordan. Jordan is 7 years old. He's on the autism spectrum disorder. He has autism spectrum disorder. He's minimally verbal, which means he has 5 to 10 functional words, and they're inconsistently used. He uses them here and there. You can't really get him to throw them out, but he kind of, you know what he means, right? Then we have, he has very strong musical responsiveness. He produces vocalization in response to strong stimuli and exhibits rhythmic motor entertainment. But after 18 months, same like Miles, of traditional speech language intervention, his expressive communication gains remains limited. So we're going to take the next 5 minutes. You guys can get in a group with your friends, or you can meet a new friend, because like I said, New York is not as nice as New Jersey. So you're going to take the next 5 minutes, and I'm going to put back up the slides The questions that we're going to be looking at are which freestyle solo stage is appropriate to start doing that. Again, that's the breath awareness, that is the intentional vocalization, and then the functional speech. We'll leave it at question 1 for now, then we'll come back for question 2. But then question 3 is what specific vocal music activities would you design in a classroom or small group setting to support progression to the next stage for Jordan? Like I said, he's 87, so what is that? First or second grade? I don't know. I've been out of school for a very long time. So that's, you can see like what it would be good for Jordan. So I'm going to bring you back through, of course, the model, like I said, breath awareness, intentional vocalization, and functional communication. Those are our 3 steps. You guys are going to take the next 5 minutes, and I'm going to walk around. So if I get in your business, I just want to hear what you're saying, okay? I'm going to take the next 5 minutes, and we're going to talk in your groups. You can form groups on what stage he would be at, as well as what activities. And I want to hear some good ones, because I'm going to call on some of you guys. If you hear my voice clap once, ooh, wow, that was big. If you hear my voice clap once, some of my friends are like their students. It's crazy. All right, so guys, for question number 1 in your groups, thank you guys also for the groups. For question number 1, what stage would Jordan start at? As far as where we place Jordan, you can raise your hands, and then I'm going to ask your name, and then all the things. All right, my friend is like, what's your name again?
Hi, I'm Laura. We were discussing putting him on stage 2 because it seems like he has a pretty decent grasp of the breath work considering his musical aptitude, but it seemed like he was struggling with the traditional intervention. So if you play a lot more on stage 2, like call and response stuff, start with vowel sounds, or playing the sounds that student makes, even normalizing it if you have kids who are mainstream, say this kid is in a mainstream setting of general education kids, making it an exercise, making it part of a warm-up, or making it part of an exploration of sound.
I love that. Anybody else? Everybody else kind of feels like stage 2 for the most part? Okay. So yeah, I personally also would start Jordan at stage 2. What I would do though is I would go back a little over stage 1 just to kind of say, okay, let me just make sure for my sake. Let me just make sure that you have this. You didn't have to stay in stage 1 for like forever. It's just to make sure he has that, even though as you can see he does have it, but just to go back some warm-up stuff as we go to stage 2. But ultimately I would take him to stage 2 to get into stage 3 ultimately. All right, so then question number 3, what specific vocal music activities would we design for the classroom or for a group setting that's smaller for students like Jordan, so that he can move to stage 3? Does anybody have any type of ideas? Yes, and what's your name? Christina. Cool.
We were discussing this too. A lot of times it ends up just in my structure. Towards the end of class, one of our activities, they like to sing ukulele. And just really simple nursery rhyme songs like Wheels on the Bus or Old MacDonald seem to be really, really good for some of my classes because we have a few different levels of, your NJMEA class. You may have 4 students, but they're all at different levels. And some, they all can communicate with their devices, but my kids that are more verbal might, we stop sound like, on his farm he had a, and they'll pick the animal. And then my Jordans, they're usually better with the animal sounds, and they'll enjoy it. And there's, less consonants involved. So they're a lot more likely to mimic those sounds, and they're included in everybody's kind of together. So that's an activity they like to do where they're more verbal. We do drumming and things like that, but specifically with getting them to communicate verbally.
I love that. Thank you so much. One of the things I do too, I remember I was speaking to one of the groups in the back. One of the things that I do, like with when I was in service, as well as what my son's school, Mouse's school, does with him, is that he'll include the learners who are fully verbal. They'll make them into like teachers. So, and I was telling a group in the back that when I bring Miles to school, the moment he goes into the door, Miles is mommy, we got it. It's okay. Miles is fine. Miles is fine. And like, Miles, go put your jacket over there. And like the different things. And they do that with Miles. And even when the music class in his school, his music teacher is one of my good friends for over 10 years. And which is like, what are the odds of that? And he'll tell me that a lot of times he'll even have Miles, who is, like I said, that minimally verbal stage, he'll have Miles help the other kids with music, because Miles is pretty good. He plays drums, he plays piano, he sings, he's a really cool kid. He keeps breaking my guitar strings, which I'm not too fond of that, but Miles loves music. And so my friend who's the teacher there, he lets like the other kids know, yes, Miles may not be speaking fully, but Miles knows a lot. Like, again, I stamp what I said earlier, just because they're not communicating in a way that is most comfortable to us, because they're communicating, but the way they communicate may not be the most comfortable to us. They still know so much. And so there's an exchange in his regular classes. The students will help him. In his music class, he helps the students, which I think is like it's so amazing. He's such a cool kid, not because he's just my son. We'll go past this. We did that. All right, so like we spoke about sounds of intent earlier. Sounds of intent, I think, is a phenomenal framework. I'm open for, like I said, one day I want to go to London and I want to have coffee with him, or a tea. I don't know what they do in London, never been. I want to be able to sit down with him and talk to him, about his framework, and really just learn more what he knows, because from Silence and Song framework and Sounds of Intent, they are meant to complement each other. They are not meant to compete. As you see here, the populations are different. The primary goals are different. The theory base is different. The structure and the orientation, they're all different. But when they work together, those frameworks enrich the practice for diverse populations. It's not about saying that speech is bad. It's not about saying, oh, the OT, the different things, they're not bad. The students just need more. And so even with the regular ways of intervention, I'm not saying throw out the whole SLP program or throw out none of that's happening. I'm saying let's add something else to make sure that our students get all that they need to really thrive and be all that they can be, all that they were born to be. So that is why, for example, the Sounds of Intent specifically is used to complement from Silence and Song and not compete, because when we're trying to help students, there should be no competing anyway, but that's another topic for another day. We won't really go there today. All right, so building the evidence base, like I mentioned to you guys earlier, the goal is to have a study from ages 5 to 18 of 60 participants, and to do a single arm repeated measures pilot study. That study would take about 24 to 36 weeks of intervention. Interventions are done 3 times a week. And then all the other little non-student focused stuff takes about 2 years to do. The start would be in September 2026, and the preliminary observations informing protocol refinements. What we will be measuring is the functional vocabulary, the vocal quality, the communicative intent. Remember, everything is communication. And the engagement levels. So for practitioners and researchers, that looks different. For me, I am both practitioner and researcher. So for me, I am assessing before intervening. I'm using music as scaffolding, prioritizing the body first. You have to get them in their bodies and fully grounded and safe in their bodies. To creating social context. And on the research side, measuring communication outcomes, including diverse populations, over rationalizing each stage, and then examining neural mechanisms. One thing I didn't share in the very beginning is that I myself am neurodivergent. So my son is on the autism spectrum. For me though, I have a few different little spicy things about myself, So for me, it is important to really be able to help these students because I myself once needed help, So I still need help because look at me. I've been talking about coffee and all the other crazy things, while I've been in front of you guys. So the honest horizons, our current limitations, a theory-informed framework. The empirical validation is in progress, and that's the honest. The stage boundaries require us to operationalize and reliable assessment tools. There are other ones I don't want to belabor the time for you guys, but our future direction is our pilot study with diverse minimally verbal populations, the neuroimaging studies. Like I said to you guys, being that I am neurodivergent myself, I spent a lot of time, even on my own self, looking at EEGs and fMRIs. But I also, thankfully, have been blessed to partner with a few of my neurological doctors who would also be willing to help as well. So I'm really grateful for that. Development of stage-specific assessment tools, because that is absolutely necessary. Comparison studies with traditional speech-language approaches, because we're not throwing it out, we're just comparing to see how they can be better. And the longitudinal research tracking communication outcomes over time. So, starting Monday morning, do you guys, I don't live in New York, y'all have class on Monday?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So starting Monday morning, starting Monday morning, you start with breath work in every warm-up. Every single warm-up that you do, make sure before they start singing that they have their breath intact. So start there. It helps to calm the children down, especially because they can become so much, all of a sudden you be crashing out in the hallway. Start with breath, okay? Next step, layer vocal exploration into existing routines. So that may be something like sound painting. So, help me to show that I am happy by way of sound. Something like that, like an example like that. Document what you observe. Remember, if you don't document it, it never happened. It's your word against theirs, whatever. So document what you observe. And then connect with the community. I have a slide later, you see my email, but I have a slide later that has my contact information. So as you start to see things in your class, you can hit me up, I'm here. We can talk about it, we can see how we can make it better. All right, so with that being said, I have talked way too much. Again, I haven't had coffee yet, and it is 10:06. So what I want to leave you guys here with from Silence to Song is that every voice deserves a path to be heard. Every voice, whether that's a silent voice to start, or if that's a voice that's the loudest in the room, or if that's the voice that is also the loudest in the room, and you still don't know what it is that they're saying, like Miles at times, where it is so loud, but we don't know, but every voice deserves to be heard. Every voice and every student deserves a chance to be their fullest self and to have people around them that truly care. Every student deserves to be able to feel safe in the way that they communicate while we're trying to help them to communicate in different ways. Every student deserves that. And with that being said, I hope you guys will help me on this journey from taking our students from Silence to Song. I appreciate all of you for even spending this hour with me. Thank you so much. You have questions, give me up. I'm here. You can talk. You can powwow. Oh, those beanbags. I need those back. Thank you so much in advance. Right, you can just throw them at me as a I'll clean it up. You see, I didn't play softball. Clearly, it's like, what was that?
I realized something today about the true need for what it is that I desire to make my life's work. During my presentation, I was able to really look around the room and how many people who really and truly knew this was something that we need to help our students. It was something that really changed me forever. This work, it won't be easy, but this work is so necessary. It's so necessary because our students deserve to be heard. Every voice deserves to be heard. Every single one. It doesn't matter where they are now. All that matters is moving them from silence to song. Thank you for being a part of this journey. I appreciate you.